Gotten a very early start today. Sun has just barely come up. I know, like always, it looks really bright because of what this camera does, but yeah, it's 4:07 and just eager to make a push to get to Bland, start my 0 day. And I slept decently well. It was a weird night. I was trying to go to sleep early, and there were some guys somewhere. I mean, I'm obviously not that far from civilization. There were guys setting off fireworks for hours last night. And I mean loud fireworks, you know. Sounded like shotgun blasts. And then they stopped at like 8:53. So maybe there must be some kind of, I was hoping maybe there'd be a thing at 9 o'clock where they needed to stop, you know, some kind of county rule or something. Anyway, so I went to sleep shortly after that and slept most of the night. Woke up occasionally listening to some mooing cows way off in the distance. But anyway, I'm ready to go today. Hopefully it'll be a good day. Starting to see more cicada bodies laying around. They're kind of littering the trail now. But, there goes my water bottle. But I still hear them very loudly, their car siren sound in the background. And so there's still a bunch of them going. The weird thing is, I've never come in all this time now. I mean, I don't know how many days it's been, a week or, you know, maybe slightly less, I'm not sure, but I've not once come across an area where they're all over the place. In fact, only once or twice have I even seen any even alive, just, you know, one or two flying across my path in a day or something. And even though I hear this hum, sometimes in one direction, but sometimes in all directions, I've never gotten into an area where the hum is right where I'm at. At least it doesn't seem like it. Always seems like the hum is, you know, 1,000 feet ahead or 1,000 feet to the side. I never hear it right there. So I don't really understand that, what that's all about. Maybe they're way up in the trees, mostly where I'm not at, and it sounds that way. Maybe I'm not really sure. But anyway, it's interesting, and it sounds like they are slowly dying out. interesting. I think path is the Piedmont Appalachian Trail Hikers Club. I saw back a ways, well, I think back at the shelter yesterday, Chestnut Knob Shelter. I can't remember, the one that was up on the hill that was all enclosed. There was some information about path. Apparently they do a lot of the maintenance of these areas. I felt like we're outside of their zone now, but maybe not, since that's there. Thank you, Piedmont AT Hikers Club. Yeah, now that's a trail name right there. Trail Boss. All right, this last half mile into Bland is on a gravel road here. Not into Bland, but to the highway where I get picked up. So I called the shuttle and he's gonna come and get me. Whew, it's been a pretty good day. Met a dude out here, Hootie. We've been just talking last few miles since I crossed paths with him, and so that's kept me motivated. I've been moving a lot faster than I probably would have been otherwise. Keep my mind off my legs burning. So, all right. Oh, other than these huge power lines, there's some incredible views over here. Should be a nice last little walk into Bland. There he is. Little garter snake. All right, I'm at the trailhead here, Highway 52, waiting to get picked up by Bubba. Head into town, take a zero. Hallelujah. On the way I met Hootie here. I can't even see, the camera's so freaking dark. Hootie, are you in there? I think you're in there. Yeah, Hootie and I have been hiking for the last quite a few miles. We've had a good time, man. A lot of good talking and stuff. It was a good day. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So this is great. Hootie's going to keep on hiking, and unfortunately I'm getting shuttled to Buchanan, so I doubt our paths are going to cross any more this trip, but who knows what the future holds. Have a good hike, man. So I'm here at Bear Wallow Gap around Buchanan, and this is where I finished, right here under this sign, last year. This was the end of my hike for 2019. Came out across that bridge and came out and got picked up right over here. And so now I'm getting ready to start again. I just came from Bland 2020. And of course, skipped ahead to this section because I already did between Bland and right here, Buchanan, last year. So now I'm picking up and starting, and I'm gonna head right up here out of Buchanan and north on the AT for hopefully at least another month. See how far I can get. So like a broken record, here I am back on the trail after a zero day in, well, going from Bland to Buchanan. Just telling you how great I feel, you know. It just makes so much difference. And as I also say always, you know, hey, I've just been out here an hour or two, and who knows if this feeling will last, but it usually does, just my legs. feel 1,000 times better and have a lot of stamina. You know, I just needed a day off. My muscles just needed to, you know, heal up. Everything needed a little time to get back on track. So here I am. Just took off from Buchanan, and what I need to do for all the people who haven't been with me all along and watching all of this, I need to explain what I've done and why I'm in this new place on the trail. And I am going to create a separate video that details this a little better. But basically, here's what happened. 2019, last year, I started at the southern terminus of the AT, Springer Mountain, Georgia, and I headed north like most of the rest of the world that was hiking the trail. Not everybody, but most people. And I got to Fontana Dam, North Carolina, and I went home for a few weeks. Then I came back out and flew into Roanoke Airport in Virginia, because it was a really cheap flight and an easy way to handle it. And I found a great shuttler there in Homer Witcher, and shuttled down, and I did, for another couple of weeks, I did the stretch from Bland, Virginia to Buchanan, Virginia. So those were the two stretches I had done on the AT, somewhere around 340 miles, give or take a couple or a few, whatever. So that's what I had done. What I really wanted to do was hike the whole trail, but I didn't have time and I couldn't. So that's what I did. So this year I came out, the end of March. I started at Fontana, where I had originally stopped. And my initial, first phase of my goal was to connect the two sections I had done last year. So I needed to hike from Fontana through the Smokies, through Hot Springs, Irwin, whatever, all the places, and Damascus, and get to Bland, Virginia. And then I would have done the entire stretch, right? So that's what I just finished 2 days ago before I got off trail and took my 0 day. So that means as of right now, I have hiked the Appalachian Trail over the course of 2 years, or a year and a month or two, but 2 separate years. I have hiked from the southern terminus in Springer Mountain, Georgia, to right here, to Buchanan, Virginia. And now, today, after I finished in Bland, I got shuttled here to Buchanan, and I'm picking up where I left off last year. So, as I jumped on the trail right here at Bear Wallow Gap outside of Buchanan, I've now completed the whole trail up to here, and every step I take is another step further north in finishing the trail. So I've got another month at least on the trail this year, and I'm going as far as I can go, My hope is I might even be able to get as far as into New York, maybe even Bear Mountain area. That's maybe not totally realistic, and that's okay. But I'm going to get as far as I can get, and we'll see what happens. So I've got at least probably another 2.5 weeks in Virginia. Then I'll hit just a little tiny stretch in West Virginia. It doesn't take long to get through Maryland. I'll be into Pennsylvania, and I'll be rolling. Pennsylvania is a big state, and there's a lot of AT in it, and I'll be doing that for quite a long time, and hoping to get through it all the way before I have to go home and maybe further. So we'll see what happens. So if you're interested, you can obviously watch those other stretches of the AT in other playlists that I have here on my channel. I have a playlist that's specifically from, is Georgia, North Carolina from 2019. Then I have the playlist that this is the last video in, which is from is North Carolina, Virginia. North Carolina and Virginia, pretty much, and it's a little Tennessee. And this will be again the last video in that playlist. Then I have the playlist from last year with all the videos showing the whole middle portion of Virginia. Right, so that would be doing everything consecutively in order, the way that the AT runs. And then, starting tomorrow, I will create a new playlist and new videos, and they will be for the Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania stretch. And I'll just be adding to those. Whoa. Magnificent. I'll be adding to those over really probably the remainder of this year. Unlikely that I will get out of this stretch far enough, that I'll start a new playlist, but you never know. So yeah, I'm gonna be just doing the same thing I've been doing in a different area now. So I'm looking forward to getting into Shenandoah soon, and then again getting through into West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and beyond. I didn't realize how much, or that I had lost very much, if any weight at all, because I have this belt pack that I'm wearing around that I actually stick through the loops of my pants and keep it all tightened up and whatever out here, and it actually helps keep my pack riding up a little higher as well, which works well. So anyway, as a result of that, I just didn't realize that I'd lost much weight. It didn't really feel to me like I had, but when I took my day off and I didn't have this belt pack holding up my pants, I could hardly keep them up, especially if I put like my phone or anything with any weight at all in my pocket. So I obviously have lost a decent amount. I mean, enough that it's for sure noticeable in my clothing. And even after I washed these shorts, allowed them to shrink up if they would shrink at all or whatever, it didn't make any difference. They still are pretty loose on me. So anyway, but the other thing I noticed is, as soon as I put my belt pack on and cinched it through, put it through these loops and tried to cinch it up today before I got on the trail, is just in a couple of nights and a day of eating, real food in town, I have gained a little back already. And probably some of it's water and whatever, but definitely the way I had my belt set, my belt pack set, was not going to work exactly, so I had to loosen it just slightly. But I'm sure over the course of the next couple days it'll tighten right back up to where it was pretty quickly. Just passing Cove Mountain Shelter. Cove Mountain was a mile back or so, and since I haven't been on the trail much at all today or anything, there's no reason to stop here, but just good to see the waypoint and know that I'm moving pretty quick and efficiently so far. Getting past this fast, so I've got another 3 miles or so to get to some water. Shelter. So I did, in my package that I picked up in Bland yesterday, I did send myself new shoes. Not new shoes, but newer shoes. I was hoping so. So my blue Ultra Lone Peak 4.0s, I believe they're 4.0s, were retired. They were torn up and flat and had served their purpose well and are gone for good. And now I have these nice, I can't even show, there you go. These nice red Ultra Lone Peak 3.5s. These are actually the ones that my son Colby asked for Christmas last year and wore a couple of times on some small hikes we did, but then kind of decided he wasn't probably going to use them that much, and so agreed to let me use them. So they probably still have about 250 miles or so left on them. So yeah, sent them to myself. There goes a lizard flying by the path. Yeah, so in about 250 miles, I'll send myself another pair. I bought some Lone Peak 3.0s. So a couple of, 2 or 3 versions ago now. But I found them online pretty cheap and they were new, and so we'll see. I haven't tried 3.0s yet. I know a lot of people love them. and wish they hadn't even changed from 3.0s, but I'll give them a shot here in 250 miles and see what happens. So what happens to me quite often, maybe almost every single time that I start a long hike and or change shoes, start wearing new shoes, is I make some small mistake with them and end up with a blister like right away. It happened this last time out when I first started there in Fontana a month ago with my blue 4.0s, Lone Peaks. And for whatever reason, I just didn't have the right one tied quite tight enough. It started getting a little bit of a hot spot on my heel, and I stopped and tightened them up, but not enough, and stopped and tightened them up again, but not enough, and anyway, whatever. Had a blister on my heel I had to deal with for a while. And then, once that went away, I had no issues ever, the rest of the time. So, I put these new ones on. I've only been hiking now for, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Put these red 3.5s on, and I had been, with my blue ones, I've been lacing up my left shoe really loosely because for whatever reason, I haven't really experienced this before, but it's getting a lot of numbness in the bottom of my foot, especially towards the ball of my foot and my big toe. A lot of numbness. So I kept loosening them every day for the first week and a half until, man, pretty soon they were about to fall off my feet, but I was wearing them so loose on my left foot. So, and it took care of everything and no blisters and everything was great. So I did a similar thing with these shoes when I put them on, and almost immediately I developed this hot spot on my left heel. I stopped and tightened them up, but not enough. Stopped and tightened them up again, maybe not enough, but I can already feel a little bit of a bubble there as I'm walking, and I'll probably have to deal with that for a week and a half now, even though, I probably won't have any other issues because I never really do have blister issues with these Ultras. I think the only problem is me. In fact, we're not quite smart enough to use them. They may be a little too advanced for my pea brain. I'm not sure. Yeah, well, that's one of the bigger garter snakes I've seen out here. Yeah, it's a pretty good size one. Let's see how big he is compared to my foot there. So yeah, anyway, seems to not be ready to move. Just chilling. Seems like every time I stop and do a resupply, and I think this is pretty typical, I find more things that I don't really need in my pack. More ways to just lighten the load a tiny bit more. So this time, there were actually maybe more opportunities than normal because once my bear canister got eaten, I had to get some things in Damascus, and I didn't necessarily have all the choices I wanted. So like for instance, I was carrying a full can of aerosol bug spray, which is really heavy. And so, I got rid of that this time and bought a plastic bottle of smaller, like 100% DEET that I can actually mix down with water. And, so anyway, it's that saves a bunch of weight. And I had a toothbrush that wasn't very good and was kind of a big, heavy thing. And, it might not seem like very much, but just got a lighter toothbrush I could break the end off of, and it's going to work a lot better for me. What else? I don't even remember. Just a bunch of miscellaneous things like that. I ended up, for the first time, cutting a bunch of the extra cord and stuff off of my, let's see, here's my water source. Boy, there's not much here. I think this is the last one I have for a couple miles, but I've got a good liter of water, so I'll continue on. Anyway, some of the straps and things off of my backpack, the way that I use it, and because of my size, like for instance, I've had this foot of big thick webbing hanging off of the front of my pack, just from the belt, where I tighten it up at. Well, I'm not gonna go from a size 31 waist to a size 45 tomorrow, so I just cut a whole bunch of that off finally, and all the same with really straps all over the thing. You know, the pack is designed to carry a whole lot more, and I could pile it high way over my head and cinch everything down and carry, 50 pounds into the outback or something, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. So I cut all the extra strap and things like that off, and I didn't weigh it this time like I do a lot of times, but it was substantial. I mean, you feel the bag. It was a pound and a half or something. I mean, it was a lot of weight. Another thing I did was, I'd gotten those new Dr. Scholl's inserts for my shoes I talked about, and I already had another pair that are kind of like plantar fasciitis type inserts that I use off and on that I've contemplated getting rid of, but I still have them. But I also had the heel cups that I started with, and those were awesome, and they served a great purpose. But once I got the Dr. Scholl's inserts, I did not need those heel cups, so I left those behind as well. So anyway, lighten my load, perfect things just a little more, and I can really feel it. Plus, minus that bear canister, I have a good 7 days worth of food right now that I'm carrying, which is a lot till my next resupply. But it's definitely a good probably 3 pounds at least lighter than the last time I loaded up with 7 days worth of food. So that's awesome, and I can really feel it. And 3 pounds, over the course of days, over the course of a week, slowly paring that down every day as I eat food and stuff is going to make a huge difference on my feet, my knees, and my stamina and all that. Well, I've only been on the trail for about 3 hours, and after taking a whole 0 day, so I don't think I can take advantage of this, but man, that sure sounds good, doesn't it? That's a hard one to pass up, but I guess I'm gonna have to. Oh well. That is Jennings Creek. And it looks very refreshing. I know I spent a bunch of time a video or two ago talking about blowdowns and everything, but man, there was nothing compared to this, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but I just thought I'd show you. This has got to be like the 8th blowdown in my first 3 hours out here. And here's another one right after it. And I mean huge ones, like where they haven't even begun to, people are just having to make trails around it. And, it's tree after tree after tree. Here's another one right after it immediately. And look at how big this tree is that's blowing down over here. So, yeah, they're just everywhere. And a lot of them are so big, you can't just step over them there. People have just kind of made their own trails around them and through, out in the middle of nowhere and back in, because you can't even get through.